The first time Captain Zara Munro laid eyes on Cyrena Venalina, she thought the ambassador looked too perfect to be real. Cyrene had a luminous quality, her skin shimmering faintly, like the polished surface of a pearl. Her eyes, a deep lavender, that seemed to pull in light. But Zara had been to enough worlds, met enough alien dignitaries, to know that appearances could be deceptive. It wasn't uncommon for planetary ambassadors to turn up the charm when dealing with Earth representatives, and she figured this was no different. What she hadn't counted on was the proclamation that would change everything. Zara stood in the grand chamber of the Venalina Central Hall, flanked by her first officer, Commander L. Park, and the diplomatic attaché from Earth's Interstellar Relations Bureau. The hall was a marvel of iridescent materials, domed ceilings that refracted light into swirling rainbows, floors so reflective it felt like standing on a frozen lake under a starry sky. The Venalinan delegation, 5 figures clad in flowing, crystalline robes, floated down the long platform toward Zara's party. Their gait was so smooth it looked like they were skating on air. Cyrene, the one who stood at the forefront, stopped just a few paces away. With a slow, deliberate motion, she placed her long, delicate hand over her heart. "Captain Zara Munro," she began, her voice melodic and clear. "From the moment we exchanged words over the comm channel, I have felt an undeniable bond. You carry yourself with strength, honor, and a warmth that even we Venalinans rarely encounter. It is my wish to form an eternal partnership with you." Zara blinked. The attaché's mouth dropped open. Commander Park cleared her throat awkwardly. Zara wasn't sure she had heard right. "Ambassador Cyrene," she said carefully, "I'm honored by your words, but I'm not entirely sure I understand. Are you suggesting—" "I am proposing marriage," Cyrene said, the statement so matter-of-fact it took Zara a moment to process. "To you, here and now, in the presence of both our delegations." This was where a captain's training, poise under pressure, diplomacy in the face of the unexpected, should have kicked in. Instead, Zara heard herself blurt out, "What?" Before she could say another word, the other 4 members of Cyrene's delegation stepped forward. Identical in every way, height, coloring, facial features, except for slight variations in the shade of their robes, they formed a half-circle around Cyrene. Zara's confusion only deepened as each one spoke in turn. "Our sister's proposal is binding," said one, her voice just as melodic as Cyrene's. "To accept her is to accept all of us," said another. "We share everything," added the third, "from our knowledge to our lives to our love." "It is the way of Venalina," finished the last, her expression calm but resolute. "We are as one." Zara looked at them, then back at Cyrene. This had to be some kind of mistranslation, a cultural misunderstanding. There was no way, this was an actual proposal of marriage. And even if it were, what were the chances the Venalinan ambassador would think Zara was in any position? "To say yes, she stammered. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. You see, humans don't, usually—" Cyrene held up her hand. "Captain Munro, I understand this may seem sudden, but in our culture, we Venalinans do not separate from our kin. We are born together. We grow together. We choose our mates together. To marry one of us is to marry us all. There is no greater honor we can bestow upon another being than to invite them into our circle." Zara's thoughts spun. The diplomatic attaché was frantically consulting a handheld translator, muttering under his breath. Commander Park shifted uncomfortably beside her, likely calculating how to spin this whole ordeal in their mission report. For her part, Zara felt a strange mix of disbelief, flattery, and an overwhelming urge to find the nearest escape pod. She could feel the expectant eyes of the Venalina delegation on her. "This is a highly unusual situation," Zara said carefully. I need time to consider what you've said. This isn't something I can answer on the spot. Cyrene's expression didn't waver. Of course, she said graciously. We will wait for your answer, Captain. With that, the Venelinan delegation turned as one and floated back toward the far end of the hall. As soon as they were out of earshot, the diplomatic attaché groaned. Captain, this is a nightmare. If we offend them, it could jeopardize our entire relationship with Venelina. But you can't seriously be considering— I'm not considering anything yet, Zara said quickly, except figuring out how to get us out of this without causing an interstellar incident. Commander Park glanced at the retreating Venelinans, then back at Zara. It's going to be a long debrief, Captain. Zara exhaled. Yeah, and this mission just got a lot more complicated. Captain Zara Monroe's quarters aboard the Aegis Horizon were quiet, but her mind was anything but. She sat at her desk, staring out the viewport at Venelina's shimmering planet below. Swirling bands of purple and gold clouds reflected its unique atmosphere, and even from orbit, the surface sparkled as though the entire world were dusted with jewels. It was beautiful, alien, and impossibly complicated, much like the situation Zara found herself in. The diplomatic attaché's words from earlier rang in her ears. Captain, this is a nightmare. If we offend them, it could jeopardize our entire relationship with Venelina. Her first officer's response hadn't helped. It's going to be a long debrief, Captain. But what neither of them had said, and what Zara couldn't stop thinking about, was the strange sincerity in Cyrene's voice. When the Venelina ambassador had proposed, no, declared her love for Zara, it hadn't sounded like a political move or a joke. Cyrene's words had been earnest, heartfelt. Maybe that was why Zara couldn't dismiss the proposal as just another intergalactic misunderstanding. At least, not yet. She rubbed her temples and tapped a control panel on her desk. Dory, she said aloud. With a faint hum, the ship's linguistics and cultural relations AI materialized on the desk screen. Dory's avatar was a smooth, translucent sphere that pulsed gently as she spoke. Yes, Captain? Give me the full cultural brief on Venelinans again. All known information on their social and family structures, marriage customs, and anything about these sibling bonds. The sphere pulsed thoughtfully. Venelinans are known for their close-knit familial units. Unlike humans, they are born in genetic clusters, sets of 5, which remain tightly bonded throughout their lives. Their language lacks individual pronouns for these groups, instead using a collective identifier. Their traditions prioritize unity over individuality, and any major life decision, including partnerships, is considered a group choice. This ensures that their bond remains intact and that all siblings benefit from the relationship. Zara leaned back in her chair, frowning. So, to them, it's perfectly natural that if one of them wants to marry me, all of them are part of the deal. Correct, Dory said. This is not seen as unusual or burdensome. It is the Venelinan way of ensuring that the family structure remains cohesive. Zara sighed. And how do humans explain to them that we don't operate that way? Dory's sphere flickered. Cultural divergence is often difficult to convey without direct experience. You might consider framing your perspective as an equally valid tradition. For example, explaining that human relationships typically occur between two individuals rather than a family group. Sure, Zara said dryly, but in this case, my refusal could cause an interstellar diplomatic incident. That is a possibility, Dory admitted. However, Venelinans are known for their adaptability. Once they understand that humans value personal choice and individual connection, they may be open to alternative arrangements. Zara sighed. Thanks, Dory. That's marginally helpful. Happy to assist, Dory replied before vanishing. From the display, a soft chime interrupted Zara's thoughts. It was her personal comm. She tapped it, expecting another update from the attaché or her first officer. Instead, A familiar voice spoke through the speaker. "Captain Monroe," Cyrene said, her tone calm but tinged with uncertainty. "I was hoping I might speak with you privately. I promise I won't take much of your time." Zara hesitated. Part of her wanted to avoid Cyrene entirely until she figured out how to politely decline the proposal without causing an interstellar rift. But another part of her, the part still intrigued by the Venalina ambassador's sincerity, wanted to hear her out. "Sure," Zara replied finally. "I'll meet you in the observation lounge." When Zara arrived, Cyrene was standing by the large viewing window, gazing out at her homeworld. The Venalina ambassador turned as Zara entered, her luminous form glimmering faintly in the soft light. "Captain," Cyrene began, her voice gentle, "thank you for seeing me. I understand this situation must be overwhelming for you. I wanted to clarify a few things." Zara folded her arms. "I'd appreciate that, because honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea that you want to, well, marry you," Cyrene finished, a faint smile on her lips. "Yes, I'm sure it seems sudden, but you have to understand that Venalinans experience connection differently. From the moment we spoke, I felt a resonance with you, a sense that our lives could intertwine in a way that would benefit us both. It's rare for us to feel this with someone from outside our kin." Zara resisted the urge to shift uncomfortably. "I appreciate the sentiment, really, but humans aren't used to the idea of marrying an entire family." Cyrene nodded. "I know. That's why I wanted to speak to you personally. To assure you that I'm not trying to pressure you into something you're uncomfortable with. I only ask that you consider the possibility that our differences could be our greatest strength. Venalinans and humans working together. What better way to symbolize our alliance than a union between us?" Zara couldn't help but admire Cyrene's conviction. The ambassador wasn't just proposing marriage, she was proposing a bridge between two very different worlds. It was a noble sentiment, but it didn't make Zara's decision any easier. "Cyrene," Zara said carefully, "I need time to think this through. It's not just about me. It's about my crew, my mission, my responsibilities. This isn't something I can decide on impulse." Cyrene nodded. "Of course, I only hope you'll keep an open mind." With that, she turned back toward the window, leaving Zara alone with her thoughts. As the ambassador's words echoed in her mind, Zara realized that she wasn't just navigating a diplomatic puzzle. She was being asked to consider what it truly meant to bridge the gap between species and what she was willing to sacrifice to make it happen. Zara's first mistake was assuming Cyrene's siblings would take a back seat while she deliberated. Her second was letting herself be cornered in the Arboretum, an onboard garden space she normally used for a quiet break from diplomatic wrangling. Now surrounded by 4 dazzling Venalinan sisters, Zara realized she was anything but off-duty. Captain Monroe, one of them, Lyra maybe, said with an elegant sweep of her hand, "Please allow me to play something for you. Music is how we Venalinans express our souls. Surely you'd like to know ours better." Zara began, but her protest was swiftly drowned out by the gentle melodic hum of an instrument that looked like a cross between a harp and a crystal chandelier. The music poured into the space, haunting and beautiful, and Zara had to admit it was mesmerizing, but she had a sneaking suspicion this wasn't just a friendly recital. As Lyra's melody faded, another sister, Zira, stepped forward. "While you enjoy the performance, Captain, perhaps I could show you the holographic maps I've been working on. They depict Venalina's history in remarkable detail, starting with our ancient starship migrations." "Or," interrupted a third sister, Shael, "I could share some insights from our energy transfer research. I understand your engineers might find it invaluable. After all, cooperation is the foundation of any strong partnership." Zara held up her hands. "Whoa, okay, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I'm not here to pick my favorite sister. I'm trying to understand, said the last sister, Miris, her voice soft but firm. And we are here to help you understand. We know this is all new for you, but our bond is what defines us. Each of us is unique, but together we are complete. Surely you can see that what we offer is not just marriage, it's an alliance, a sharing of strengths. Zara frowned, folding her arms. So what? This is a sales pitch now, a group audition? Shael raised an eyebrow, her shimmering eyes unreadable. Do you not choose your human partnerships based on mutual strengths and compatibility? We are simply showing you who we are. By ganging up on me in the Arboretum, Zara said, though her voice softened. The problem was, they weren't wrong. Each sister's skill set was genuinely impressive, and if this were purely a diplomatic negotiation, their teamwork would have sealed the deal. Still, Zara wasn't buying it. Listen, she said, I know this might be hard to grasp, but humans just don't think about marriage the way you do. For us, it's about personal connection, not combining entire family units. I'm not saying I don't appreciate what you're offering, but I need to figure out how to navigate this in a way that works for everyone. Myris stepped closer, her expression gentle. Captain, we mean no disrespect, but you must understand that this is our way. Without each other, we are not whole. To separate one of us from the others is to break something sacred. Zara looked at them, all four faces so alike, yet distinct in subtle ways. They were sincere, she could see that. But their sincerity only made things more complicated. She was starting to feel like a diplomat trapped in a romantic comedy gone interstellar. Okay, Zara said slowly. I hear you, but I still need time to think. I appreciate your demonstrations, but I'm going to have to ask for some space while I figure this out. Can we agree to that? The sisters exchanged glances, then nodded in unison. We understand, Miris said. Take the time you need, Captain. As they left, Zara collapsed onto a nearby bench, letting out a long sigh. Her plan to diplomatically refuse the proposal was starting to unravel. The more she interacted with Cyrene and her siblings, the more she realized that simply saying no might not be enough. She had to find a way to bridge the cultural divide without causing a rift that could jeopardize Earth's relations with Venalina. But for now, she just needed a moment to sit in the quiet and think. That, at least, was still her own. When Captain Zara Monroe stepped onto the Aegis Horizon's main bridge that morning, she wasn't entirely sure how the day was going to end. But she knew it would either involve a diplomatic triumph or the worst interstellar incident of her career. The Venalinan delegation had accepted her invitation to accompany the ship on a brief scientific mission, a humanitarian rescue, really. The Horizon was set to aid a small research outpost that had gone radio silent on the nearby moon of Telora 7. Zara hoped the situation would offer her a chance to demonstrate that humans and Venalinans could form meaningful partnerships without rushing into marriage, especially not a marriage involving 5 people. Cyrene, the Venalinan ambassador, arrived first, gliding onto the bridge in a flowing gown of pale gold. Her sisters followed close behind, each radiating the same ethereal beauty that had become a fixture in Zara's mind. But this time, the sisters wore utilitarian belts and carried devices that, to Zara's relief, suggested they were here to work, not court. Ambassador Cyrene, Zara said, keeping her tone warm but professional, I appreciate you and your sisters joining us. Your expertise in energy systems and spatial mapping could be crucial to locating the missing researchers. Cyrene inclined her head. It is our pleasure, Captain. We are honored to contribute. The plan was simple. Approach the moon. Scan for life signs and distress signals, and if necessary, beam down a small away team to recover the researchers. What Zara didn't expect was just how efficient the Venelinan sisters would be. Shael took immediate command of the engineering console, running diagnostics and identifying a power fluctuation in the moon's atmospheric shield that had been missed by Zara's own crew. "There," Shael said with a confident nod. "If we adjust your shield's resonance harmonics to match this frequency, you'll punch through the interference without issue." Zara, at the science station, quickly compiled a series of detailed topographical maps of the moon's surface, pinpointing the most likely locations for the outpost's emergency shelters. "Captain," she said, her voice calm, "if we deploy to this region here, we can cover all major corridors leading to the shelter in a single sweep." Meanwhile, Lara and Myris collaborated on the communications array, fine-tuning long-range scans and amplifying incoming signals. Within minutes, a faint distress beacon crackled through the ship's speakers. Zara exchanged a glance with her first officer, Commander Park, who arched an eyebrow. It was hard not to be impressed. The Venelinans worked seamlessly together, almost as if they shared a single mind. Their combined knowledge and skill had already saved the crew hours of guesswork. It was becoming clear why their culture placed so much value on staying bonded. As the Aegis horizon neared the moon's surface, Cyrene joined Zara at the captain's chair. "It seems my sisters are making a good impression," she said lightly. "They're incompetent, I'll give them that," Zara replied. "You all make a great team." Cyrene smiled, her lavender eyes glinting. "And now you see why we come as a set. Alone, we are talented. Together, we are unparalleled." Zara hesitated, then leaned forward slightly. "And you really believe you can never have a partnership without including everyone?" "Not just a belief, Captain," Cyrene said softly. "It is who we are. But," she added, her voice turning thoughtful, "I also see the value in learning from other ways. Perhaps what you and I discuss here today will lead to a new understanding." Zara blinked. "You're open to compromise?" Cyrene inclined her head. "If compromise leads to greater unity between our people, then yes." For the first time since the proposal, Zara felt a spark of hope. Maybe she wouldn't have to risk the entire alliance on a single relationship decision. Maybe, just maybe, they could forge a new kind of bond, one that honored both their cultures. By the time the away team located the missing researchers, the tone aboard the ship had shifted. The Venelina sisters, who had initially seemed like an overwhelming, unified force, now felt more like part of the crew. They joked lightly with Zara's officers, shared data freely, and adapted quickly to human methods of problem-solving. Even Cyrene's regal demeanor softened, and she began to engage more informally with Zara, trading insights about their respective peoples. After the mission concluded and the researchers were safely aboard, Zara called a final meeting with Cyrene and her sisters in the observation lounge. As they stood before her, their crystalline forms reflecting the golden light of the nearby star, Zara took a breath. "Ambassador Cyrene," she began, "I've thought a lot about your proposal. I'll be honest, when I first heard it, I didn't know how I could possibly respond. Humans don't have traditions like yours, and I couldn't see a way to bridge the gap, but this mission has shown me something important." Cyrene's gaze was steady, curious. "And what is that?" "Captain, that your bond as a family is not something to fear or reject," Zara said. "It's a strength, and while I can't accept your proposal in the way you originally intended, I believe we've already formed a partnership. One based on mutual respect, collaboration, and understanding. It's not marriage, but it's something just as meaningful." Cyrene's expression softened, and her sisters exchanged thoughtful glances. "You mean a new kind of union," Cyrene said slowly. "One that respects both our ways." Zara nodded. "Exactly. Our people have so much to learn from each other. If we can work together, if we can find common ground, then that's the best kind of bond we can have." For a long moment, Cyrene said nothing. Then she smiled, a genuine, luminous smile that seemed to light up the entire room. "Captain Monroe, you've shown us a new path. Perhaps this too is a kind of love, a love for what our peoples can become together." As the Venelinan delegation departed the Aegis horizon, Zara felt a sense of relief and cautious optimism. She hadn't had to marry 5 people to preserve the alliance. Instead, she'd taken a risk, found a way to communicate, and built a bridge between their 2 worlds. And in doing so, she'd created something new, something that might last far longer than any traditional marriage.